Warning: the following program contains adult language, adult themes, and spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised.
I think it's time we blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of This Week's Episode. It's the week of January 13th, 2022. It is episode 244, and I'm your host, Kris Randazzo. Joining me tonight is kick-ass theme song, Karen Randazzo.
I'm already a fairy.
Puffy pink coat model, Angie Fernot.
There is nothing in this world to believe in.
And grimacing anime stereotype, Evan Goldstein.
Julius. The name's Julius.
Tonight, following the abrupt cancellation of the live-action Cowboy Bebop Netflix series, I thought it would be a good idea to watch the two worst episodes of the original anime series and see how they stacked up. But first, how y'all doing?
That's why we had to watch that?
Boy, howdy.
Great picture.
Wow, yeah, okay, so then I'm going to have things to say. Oh, when do I not? We're great, though. How about you guys?
We are okay.
Yeah, now I'm just fine. It's good. It's good times. It's
Out here
cold.
living dream.
It's really cold out.
It's very cold.
It is currently 16 degrees, which I don't know if you know this. That's not enough degrees.
No,
definitely
that's
not.
a few to shoot few.
I heard
Yes.
that's less than freezing. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like anymore because I don't know if you know this, but I moved.
Well, it was.
I don't have to
it was
deal with that.
We noticed.
35 here yesterday.
Still above
you
freezing.
bored.
That's almost freezing.
Earlier this evening, I said to Chris, I got to make sure that I get out of the house in the next 3 days because it's going up to the mid-40s, which is still not enough degrees for me, but comparatively, like, when the rest of the days are 30s and 20s and 10s, yeah, okay, I'll go outside in 40s.
It's going to be a balmy 44 degrees outside. Better take the dog out for a walk.
Get your shorts and flip-flops going. My
Ultimate beach
understanding
weather.
is that you guys also got like 72 feet of snow in an area that doesn't normally get 72 feet of snow.
We got a little over 1 foot of snow, which we
Wow.
used to regularly get around that much snow. When I was growing up down here, we used to be able to count on probably one snowstorm of about that quantity a year, but we hadn't gotten nearly that much in a very long time. So, you know.
It was exciting.
It was very exciting, except for that it took days away from my vacation. Because instead of me being on vacation, I was watching the kids, being a dad.
He was being a dad.
You were on the kids' snow days.
Yes, I was.
Was
And it
there shoveling
fun.
of
we
snow?
had fun. What was that?
Was there shoveling of snow?
Oh yeah, lots of shoveling.
Sucker. I'm sorry.
I don't actually hate shoveling snow. That's the thing. I have a good time shoveling snow, though this year was kind of a pain in the butt because my earbuds are dying. So for some reason I go out there and wear my earbuds and the right one dies within like 5 minutes.
Are
And
they
that's just-
the Apple brand of earbuds?
They sure are.
Oh.
And I mean, I can smell the planned obsolescence from here. So I'm going to go ahead and
Just
assume
go out
that
of warranty?
since that's what it smells like. Yeah.
Not for nothing. I bought like a $25 pair from Amazon, and it was like the best pair I've ever had. So
Yeah, I think we have
I
some
love
recommendations
wireless
if you need
earbuds.
them.
Yeah, I'm thinking about going that route. I like the way the Apple ones feel, and I like the way that they function. So it's do I want to get used to other ones? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where the day takes me.
Wild,
It's the
man.
Wild West out here. I'm
see
living.
that.
I'm living on the edge.
This is some really. I'm sorry, listeners, if you can't comprehend the depth of this conversation. It's hard to follow. This is very intense.
oh no, man, we have watched a lot of television, honey.
I know. I was so proud
Well, then
of
you'd
us.
best start talking.
Okay, can I start?
Yeah, babe.
Queer Eye! So excited. Okay, so Queer Eye, there is a new season. It is fabulous. There's a lot of yas and queens and tears. Oh my god, if you're going to watch this new season, just get a box of tissues. You know the drill. I needed this show. I have
We all
needed
did, yes.
these good vibes. It's not like, I don't know, in the past I've watched it and I've been like, oh, that's so nice. It's good. Like, yeah, I could definitely use some more positive. No, I was like, I need this or someone will die.
Where are they?
Where what?
Where are they?
They're in Texas.
Yeah, they went to Austin, Texas, and I have a bestie who lives outside of there. So now I'm like, I was on the phone with her the other day and I was like, all right, so I know I've been saying for like 10 years that I'm going to come visit you in Texas, but like now I have to.
Because of Queer Eye.
Yeah, because
Just
Queer
in
Eye.
case they're still there.
They showed me some really fun places in Austin, and now we need to go hang out there and make friends with everybody.
It was cool when we were there, like, God, over 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Kris and I, Chris's band went, they didn't play South by Southwest, but we went for South by Southwest.
No, we played it. We were there.
Yes,
we weren't an official.
They played at it.
We weren't an official
Jace.
act at South by Southwest, but we drove. We did a tour. We had a couple of shows on the way and a show on the way back. We made it to Texas and we set up. We went into Austin where they were doing South by Southwest, and we parked our van on a corner. We bought one of these power inverter things so we could hook up our instruments to the van's battery, and we just set up on a street corner and we started playing a set until the car battery died.
This is so much history I did not know about you.
There is video of this, girlfriend.
Yeah, there's actual video of the car battery dying. I'll shoot you
We'll
a
have
YouTube
to put a
link.
link in the show notes if
Yeah.
people want to see this.
This is the
Which
new
band was this?
television.
This was Chocolat.
I love that name. I love that name.
I think Evan
That was
asked
a great
just
band.
to hear it.
I was a genuine rock star.
Yeah,
I
you
still
were.
wasn't cool.
You still are.
Oh,
So yeah,
Agreed.
Queer Eye was just like, I've just really needed
11
to
years
have my faith in humanity restored, and that show does it for me.
It does it very well.
Yeah.
I have a few thoughts
Okay.
about. I watched the first half of the season today.
Have you
'cause
noticed
of-
Karamo's shirts?
Yes, I have.
Cool. Okay.
Karamo's shirts are all like social justice themed, which is like rad. So my first thought when I saw they were going to Texas is like, I'm not sure this is safe for them to do. Mm-hmm. And then they were like, oh, and we're going to Austin. I'm like, oh, okay, well that's safe.
Yeah.
That's like the pocket of safe. But like honestly, it's like going to another country where there are different laws, and I was like legitimately feared for their safety.
this is also from how long ago?
20. This is the last 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like they started filming in 2019, 2020, the pandemic hit, and then filming got put on hold.
Gotcha.
they continued
So
again.
that was another really interesting. I thought it was really interesting the way they handled the pandemic, because they shot the bulk of the first episode with the first lady, and then whatever, the production shut down due to COVID before like she got her ending little like moments with her family, and so they went back to visit with her a year later, and it was a really like kind of touching but also really interesting way to do one of their episodes, because normally like, you know, they spend a week with a person and then at the end of it their lives are changed and then you never see that person again. This we got to see the person. Sometimes they'll do like a little follow-up if something happened like, you know, within the season's production and they find out about it, they'll like add a little bit at the end about it.
Yeah,
In
but
this case, the lady, sorry, I'm taking over your show, Ange.
No, I love it because this is. I was actually going to bring up this episode and one other. So please, I'm glad that you saw this one.
So the lady was like 58 years old and she wore a wig, and she never she wouldn't let Jonathan touch her real hair at all. And so like before they left, he was like, I'm going to give you this like machine that helps regenerate like hair growth. And he left it with her, and then I guess during the pandemic she decided to use it. So when they came back and visited her a year later, instead of this long blonde wig, she was wearing like her long natural hair, and it looked amazing.
Yeah.
And like you never would have gotten to see something like that if not for the pandemic.
Yep. Yeah, like
So that was pretty cool.
I often find myself wishing they would do like a fall, like where are they now? But then I'm always like scared of, where are they? Like
Where
what
they
if
could be.
Yeah. But yeah, I love that. I really want to go to the Broken Spoke. Like I really want to go there and learn line dancing. I am so about it.
I'm betting that they probably they'll probably see an uptick in business from this, like tourism.
Yeah. I mean, I had learned of it prior to the show, and just kind of been like, yeah, whatever. And then, like when it was filmed, like I was like, oh, I get it now. I'm sorry for brushing this off. But yeah, so there was that episode, and then like you're talking about, where they are in Texas, and they did the episode with the cattle farmer.
Yeah, yes, I saw that one too.
Mm-hmm.
So, is that the guy with the tight pants?
That was the guy. He was the one who was super. And he's like, yeah, I'm just not used to people like you. And he's like, if I saw someone like you walking down the street, I'd be like, what's up with that guy? And then he looks at Jonathan, and he's like, what's up with your shoes, man? Like,
and he's like, cute, right?
Like the way he just owned it.
I'm sorry. The fact that he was wearing the tight pants and his exclamation was, "You can see my pecker." That's just funny.
Like, yeah, it was one of my favorite things, because that particular person reminded me a lot of what my family is like, which is weird because my family is from northern New Jersey. So one would not expect that if you're not familiar with what can come out of New Jersey. And just seeing that, like, it's one of the things that really inspires me, when it's like, it just takes patience, a conversation, and an open mind. And like, you see these people go in and like, yeah, the guy's going to be on his best behavior because he's got a camera on him. But like, I felt like I could actually see him growing. Like, I feel like his brain might have overheated a little bit from expanding so much in that week period. So it just renewed hope,
It I mean, you hear people say a lot, like I think they even did like a beer commercial that was like this, where like, and the guy himself said, like, if you sit down with and have a beer with somebody who's different than you find out like that they're not really so different from you. Mm-hmm. And that's like an easy thing to say, but I think the big barrier is people being willing to open up to and get to know someone who is different than themselves, and let go of their preconceived notions about somebody who's different from them. Mm-hmm. So to actually see it happen between this, conservative ranch guy and these guys and the Fab Five was really nice. Mm-hmm. It made me feel like, oh, that is actually possible. However, and I'm still not convinced it's possible for like the population at large. It's like, okay, in this case in particular, these are 5, like, they're very trained to like get people to open up. Like, this is what they do. Mm-hmm. This couldn't be accomplished between just any 2 people who didn't agree on something.
No, for sure it couldn't, but I like to think that it can help inspire more people to want to be like that. I mean, like, I spend a lot of my spare time studying how to be better at communication. You wouldn't know it from this podcast, but I do spend a lot of my time trying to become a better communicator in my relationships and in my life, whether it's establishing and reinforcing healthy boundaries, or having more empathy and compassion for my fellow man, really. But the fact of the matter is that, like, this show, like I said, it's just one of those things where you get to a place that you're just looking at the world around you, and sometimes it's really hard to remember the good things, and then a show like this releases a new season, and it's just like, all right, stop moping, be better, do better, inspire more, because they inspire me, and I love that.
Nice.
Good point, well made.
But that's okay. Sorry, go ahead.
The only other thing that I noticed about during the show is they have, I don't know whether they did this earlier or not, but I noticed that they stopped referring to themselves as 5 gay men and started referring to themselves as 5 queer people, which I think is really cool since Jonathan's non-binary.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
I caught your as well, yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't think Jonathan had ever stated that they were non-binary before.
Right. And I think it can be, you see a non-binary person who still, like, has a masculine body and, you know, facial hair and whatnot. It's still, like, I still catch myself doing it where there are non-binary people that I follow now, and I still catch myself using the wrong pronouns. So the more it's mainstreamed and normalized, and the more people see it. Like, even I really enjoyed that that specific part of the conversation between Jonathan and the cowboy about, like, so what is non-binary and what what pronouns, and is it okay to ask, and all this stuff. Like, I feel like a lot of people experience that with, like, something they're not used to, and they don't know if it's okay, and so they end up, you know, doing or saying something wrong because they don't feel like they can ask. So it was nice for them to show that, yes, it is okay to ask, and you'll figure it out.
Yep.
And nothing bad happens.
Yeah. And it's okay to be a little unsure and a little unclear. Like, yeah. So that was my, like, really intense feel good yay. Followed up by the Great Canadian Baking Show. So we finished the first season tonight. Evan was actually invested enough that I was working while watching it this afternoon, and then he was like, nah, keep it on. Because we were toward the end of the season, and he wanted to know who would win. So that was cool. I was disappointed. I was very disappointed. I was rooting for the Baker Vandana, and I thought that she definitely deserved to win, but that's fine. Whatever. I'm not salty.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm sweet because it's a baking show. Anyway.
Have you watched any of the Canadian baking show, Karen?
I have not, no.
Okay, so there is a distinct lack of douchebaggery from the judges. They are exceptionally nice. They are truly Canadian in their description of what's wrong with someone's bake, but it's overwhelmingly nice.
Not a Paul Hollywood insight.
Listen, Paul is great, and everyone wants his handshake.
But he is, you know, he can be harsh with his criticisms, but not unfounded. But he can be harsh, and, you know.
And the guy what's the judge's name? The French judge.
Honestly, I can't get past the fact that he sounds so fakely French. I can't remember his name.
He sounds like he's putting on a fake French accent, but I don't think he is. I would hope that he's not.
No, it's real.
But it's like overt French accent.
Yeah.
But what's Eugene Levy's kid?
Dan Levy.
Dan. The more I watch this show, the more I see his dad, and it's just in the eyebrows. Like,
where they belong.
He has his father's eyebrows.
It's great.
God bless him.
It's great.
Oh, so is he on it?
Yeah.
First two seasons.
Oh, great.
He is one of the introduced. What is he?
He's one of the hosts.
Host. Okay, we can call it host.
Yeah. Yes. So he's there. That was good fun. Fantastic. And then we've been working our way. Oh, I guess I'll finish what I was watching, and then we can do what we were watching. Still working my way through Gargoyles. Season 3 is hella long. I finally found out about Angela. Like, you guys, I've been told about her, but now I'm in new territory.
Now you know.
I know.
Holy crackers,
So
honey!
cool.
Yes, it's 52 episodes.
Yeah, it's a really long. I wasn't kidding. I was like, it's almost discouraging because it's so many episodes, but I'm working through it. I also picked up The Expanse again. So I had picked that show based on a friend's recommendation for all of us to watch, and we all got through the first episode and kind of went,
Yeah,
so
apparently when, like, a couple of people have said, like, we didn't get the right impression of the show by just watching the first episode, because we all agreed it was really
Well, here's the funny
sad.
thing. I'm on the third episode, and, like, episode 1 was basically negligible. Like, because they bounced around to so many different plots and characters in that first episode and then killed most of them. So, like, you just get to the point in episode 2 where it's literally bouncing back and forth between, like, the guy,
Punisher.
Tom Jane, yeah?
Thomas Jane.
Yeah, that guy. So it's like him investigating the girl that disappeared, the woman who is on Earth who likes to torture people, and then the little crew that had left the big ship that got blown up.
Right.
And like, it's much more straightforward now because it's literally crew needs to survive, crew gets picked up by Mars, and then Thomas Jane is checking out stupid crap underground and dealing with the same political crap he was dealing with and following the trail, and then other lady is dealing with politics. But like, it's not
I can't tell if you like it or not.
Well, I'm trying to simplify this as much as possible because like, I'm actually enjoying it, but it's the kind of show that like, it's gonna have, I think they're gonna try and throw twists and turns in there, and sometimes I'm gonna be like, I don't care.
Sign of a good show, and you know.
But it is interesting. I mean, I do that with a lot of television, even stuff I like. But I'm giving it another chance, and I'm now on the 3rd episode, and I'm actually enjoying it enough that like, I got distracted while working and couldn't keep it on in the background. I had to turn it off. So that to me was a good sign.
That's good.
So I'm working through that because I have more than one friend now who apparently watches it, so I feel like I should try. Discovery of Witches is back, so Karen, I don't know if you're
it
planning.
is back? I haven't, no, I'm like behind on everything because the kids were out of school for so long. But.
Yeah, totally fair. I haven't watched it yet. I just have a friend who watches it and wants me to watch it with her, so we're probably going to try and pick that up again next.
Is that a week? That's a week to week, right? That's not a season drop.
I think so, but like I think
it's on AMC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it came out. Like I think the first episode or 2 is out already.
First episode 2 days ago.
Oh, it was 2. I don't know
Maybe
what day
3.
it is. Time. What is time? So yeah, that's pretty much it for the TV. I've been watching Solo, and then we've been watching Dickinson.
So it's great.
Yeah.
What's funny is Iron Fist. What's his name?
No, stop.
Yeah.
Danny Rand, white privilege.
He shows up, and every time he shows up on screen, Angela, she really doesn't like him. That show's great.
Yeah. And he is terrible.
We also caught up on, or current on, The Rookie, which is still fantastic. Boba Fett is another one that we're watching together.
Yeah, Kris, you watch any of that yet?
That's a silly question.
I just wanted to hear his voice again. I forgot if he was here.
This
Well,
pulp shit in the woods. Come on.
There's 2 things we got to talk about with Kris. That's Boba Fett, and when I say I've watched all of Cobra Kai, his ears will perk up. But we caught up
I've been listening. I've just had absolutely nothing to say about any of it.
Yeah, he didn't watch Queer Eye with me, so.
How very dare you, Kris? You don't want to see the hope in the world?
No.
No. All right, so Kris, what do we want to talk about first? Boba Fett or Cobra Kai? Because those are the 2 that I am excited about.
I mean, we already talked a little bit about Cobra Kai last night, though I'm certainly happy to rehash that and hear what everybody else has to say. Since Boba Fett's ongoing and Cobra Kai is concluded, let's go ahead and get the Cobra Kai talk out of the way. I thought it was great. We blew through it in a couple of days.
So you both watched it?
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
Okay.
we watched that one together, and I don't know. I think it's just as good as it's ever been. It's got the same problems it always has, but I don't care as much as I always haven't. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was just fascinated by their treatment of Terry Silver. I was explaining this to Evan last night. Like, Angie, have you ever seen Karate Kid Part 3?
No.
It is garbage.
It is a horrible movie.
Yeah, it's really not a good movie. And part of what makes it so bad is the Terry Silver character is like, this is so far removed from any kind of reality. Like, this guy was just completely fucking bug nuts. And
So wait, have you seen any of the Karate Kids?
I mean, I watched... I'm just going to say no.
Okay.
I've seen the first one many years ago, enough that I remember...
So if you were to take the bad guy from that one, young him up a little bit, make him crazy, and put him on coke, that's Terry Silver.
Who the fuck is Terry Silver?
That's exactly right.
so, like, he's this dude, and in Karate Kid 3, he's like you know he has a connection to John Kreese, who was the sensei of Cobra Kai in the first movie. And, this guy is super rich and, super coked up. And he literally devotes his life to getting Danny LaRusso to join Cobra Kai and mess up his relationship with Mr. Miyagi, and he hires a kid to try to take his title in the tournament. He dedicates an obscene amount of money and time to getting revenge on Danny LaRusso for winning a fucking karate tournament a year or two prior. It is so far removed from anything resembling reality. It's nuts. So when they said they were going to bring in Terry Silver for this season, I'm like, all right, but you pulled this off with John Kreese, right? You pulled it off with him. The dude's just seriously fucking damaged. And of course, there's melodrama because, as I've said before, this show doesn't take place on Earth, and that's fine. But they grounded in a certain degree of reality that was somewhat believable. All right, this guy's just a war vet who's just out of his mind. He's been homeless and stuff. Okay, cool, I buy that. But Terry Silver, I didn't really know how they were going to handle it, and the fact that they just straight up acknowledged, yeah, I was doing all the coke.
He even actually said it in the show. He said, I was a coked up whack job.
He actually says, even saying it out loud sounds insane. Yeah, it does, because it is. But they kind of treated it like they explained it by making it this, just the effect of him going through Nam and all the crazy shit that he went through in Vietnam. The dude went nuts, and then he got therapy and he settled down, and then John Kreese shows up and kind of manipulates him into backsliding into the nut job that he is. And there's this just slow descent into madness as Kreese keeps bringing up all this Nam shit and challenging everything that he's worked so hard to not be anymore. And
what is the point of that?
What was it?
What is the point of that? Why is that character doing that? Why is
he doing it now?
Why is John Kreese doing this?
So Cobra Kai,
go ahead.
First season started with Johnny Lawrence restarting Cobra Kai.
Oh my god, I don't know any of these fucking
Johnny
names.
Lawrence was the young bad guy in the
right.
okay? So he starts.
He
up
was
Cobra
the one
Kai
that
again.
sweep the leg and
Johnny. Yeah. So in season 2, John Kreese comes back into the picture to help him with said dojo. Then he takes over said dojo.
Wait, there's one important thing that you were missing from season 1 was that Johnny wanted to restart Cobra Kai, but he wanted to do it differently, because the thing about Cobra Kai was that it was all about aggression all the time, and that fucked up Johnny's head. He did not like John Kreese at the end of it. He looked up to him before, and then he realized growing up that guy's damaged and doing damage to kids. It was a really bad situation. So he wanted to start up Cobra Kai, but he wanted to do it in a different way that didn't be abusive, you know?
You say that, but he is such a damaged character that he really doesn't know any other way to do it.
That's true, but he tries to.
He's trying to
John
figure
Kreese
that out.
comes back and does... Well, he was trying to do that in the beginning. He was learning that all through the previous seasons. He would see the way his behavior was affecting the kids, and he would try his best to correct it. It's part of what made him so interesting. But when Kreese shows up, and he does this whole sob story of trying to get back in the good graces with Johnny, and Johnny's like, no, you can help me out, fine, but we have to do this my way. I'm not damaging these kids the way you damaged us. And then, John Kreese effectively steals the business from him. Literally signs the lease out from under him and everything, which is really messed up.
It was a handshake lease with the landlord.
Oh, it was so gross.
It was
it was
horrible. But he now has Cobra Kai. Johnny, I'm really giving brass tacks out of Johnny starts Eagle Fang, but at the same time that Eagle Fang is going, LaRusso is teaching another group of kids Miyagi-Do. And they apparently karate is a very big thing in LA. So all these competing dojos are going to end up in the final
hospital.
Yes. So so season 3, Johnny ends up teaming up with LaRusso, sort of at the beginning, because Johnny doesn't really have a place to teach his kids, and he knows that they need to get together to beat Kris. So Kris goes out and gets Crazy Cokehead to help him.
His old partner, Terry Silver. Yeah.
To help him beat them. Then this was my biggest problem with this show. Okay? I said this to you last night. First season was 2 adults acting like children for most of the episode, but that was endearing because it was LaRusso and
you'd known them as children,
like they
so
were kids. Like I was okay with them squabbling and that. And then the season 2, it was more of that, but then the kids started being kids, and there was a lot of immaturity, but it was still okay because it wasn't a lot. Then season 3, now there's 2 sets of adults being children, then there's like 4 groups of kids being kids. That's a lot of not like just seeing that, if you just stop thinking that way and you do stuff slightly differently, things will be better. But at the end of this season, there is a reveal for next season, which is just going to add a whole nother adult to this stew pot of drama that I don't know how they're going to pull it off and still make it watchable for me. The stories themselves are so endearing because there's so much emotion outside of the karate stuff. Like Johnny's relationship with his actual kid and his adopted kid, if you will, because like he's really trying, because he fucked up so much with his own son, he's really trying with this other boy and his mother.
Gotta get it right eventually.
He's actively trying. And then the Russo's kids are all messed up as well too, because of, one has like his son is supremely immature, but his daughter's...
His son's a dick, kind of like Johnny Lawrence, which is hilarious.
And his daughter is too grown up all of a sudden. Like, it's good, okay? It's a great show. And I want it to end next season. Like,
I'm with you there. I
needs to
100% agree.
It needs to end next season. And I also want Julie-san to show up for at least one episode, like they did with Lil Russo girlfriend, whatever her name was. I can't remember.
Allie, yeah.
Allie. Like, Julie-san was the...
Yeah, I mean, really.
They were about to kick off the tournament, like the part where they have to, the elimination part of the tournament, and the announcer guy was like, and now we're going to bring in a special celebrity guest. I swear I thought it was going to be Julie Son.
It's going to be Hilary Swank coming out there as Hilary Swank. That would have been hilarious. That's the thing, like, the next Karate Kid is just a putrid movie. I don't know that it's that much worse than Karate Kid 3, and like Karate Kid 2 is no prize either. Like, and they're just pulling from the, let's call it mythology of those previous movies.
Hold on, let's call it mythology. I like that.
I did see an interview with hold on a sec, I have to write down, let's call it mythology.
I got it.
You got it? All right. I saw an interview with Ralph Macchio and William Zabka where they were asked if they would ever consider Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan crossing over into their show, and they were like, I mean, that's neat, but they don't, like, that's not the same universe as this. This is based on the original Karate Kid movie, so like, if Hilary Swank were to show up, that would make sense, but Jackie Chan, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe they're gonna get her.
But they still take place on Earth, theoretically, and if Jackie Chan shows up as Jackie Chan for like the kids, like, hey, look, this is a celebrity guest kind of thing, that I would be okay with.
Or maybe they just go to a Jackie Chan concert.
Or maybe they go to see the Jackie Chan, Jaden Smith Karate Kid movie.
So
that is a movie in this world.
So the movie, Jackie Chan, Jaden Smith movie, is an actual movie in this universe, but it was someone from the original tournament that was not LaRusso or Lawrence retelling their story with a spin. That's meta right there. I like it.
I can't believe they did that, and I think it's brilliant.
I just have to say that when they started up the tournament, they got to the tournament at the end, and like they're introducing everybody and showing everybody fighting. Like, how the fuck are there 10 dojos in this one area competing for this tournament? It's
I said that.
I know it's California, but holy shit, man!
This is real life, Karen.
There were two things that I said. One, like to Angela, like I had to bring her in and say, "Listen, I don't understand how there are this many dojos." That and the noise when what's the kid's name? The Hispanic kid from next door.
Miguel
does the Ryu style tornado kick, and his back. Like that noise on screen made me uncomfortable because I know that noise does not compute to be realistic. Like he is broken. He is spun in half. Like it was not good.
Yeah, that was some scary stuff. I really felt for him. I really felt for Miguel this season. Like the whole thing where he was, trying to cope with Johnny dating his mom and everything, and the scene where he
really loves
didn't
Johnny.
Say his name. He does.
He loves Johnny as a father figure, and
yeah. And Johnny loves him as a second chance, just at life, like not as like a second chance to do better with a kid, but just like at life. Miguel really changed a lot for him, and
I love watching.
It sucks everything that's going down with Robbie, but then at the very end, where Robbie comes around, he's like, "I don't want to blame you anymore," and I was
tired
like,
of blaming you, Dad. Oh,
so sweet.
And at the same time, Miguel's wandering off to go to Mexico to go find a dude that doesn't know he exists. Like,
I mean, I'm all for it. They've handled it all perfectly well by me so far. I trust them to continue to handle it well in the future. I just hope it doesn't overstay its welcome. So
that's what I'm worried about. Also seeing. There was the montage, or I don't know if I want to call it a montage, but watching Johnny try to train as Miyagi-Do, like when they did that back and forth, and at one point in time, Johnny got into the crane position. I was like, that's some funny shit right there.
I also really liked how they followed that up with seeing them, like especially seeing Daniel exhibit some very Cobra Kai behaviors kind of like subconsciously, and like kind of realizing in the back of his head like, oh shit, there is validity to this. Like Miyagi-Do was always all about balance, and Daniel's whole thing is that he is not balanced. He's too far in the other direction.
He's too far and defensively as opposed to aggressively, or it's the two dojos do not have to be that one side of each coin kind of.
So wait, let me get this straight. It's two different groups of people, both of which have a philosophy. One is too far in one direction, one is too far in the other direction. Am I following so far?
Close.
Correct.
Hold on.
And you're sure this is martial arts we're talking about?
There are 3 groups. Technically.
Right, there are 3 groups now, but the Eagle Fang is kind of the same way. Eagle Fang's the not evil Cobra Kai, basically.
Okay, so
they're both based on very offensive, and Miyagi-Do is very defensive, and the thing about this show is trying to reach this balance, and that that's the way that it has to go. And then you see the kids when they were forced to train together, like Miguel and Sam both.
Sam is Daniel LaRusso's daughter.
Yeah, they both benefited from the other's teachings, and they did well because of it. And it was only when they, realized that yes, there is validity to both things. Like when when Johnny went up against Terry Silver and he was using Miyagi-Do defense, that was really awesome to see, because it was him realizing this shit works. It has validity, and them both realizing that means that they can work together. And
my favorite example of that, though, was when Hawk used Cobra Kai against
Cobra Kai
against Robbie in the tournament.
Yeah,
but
that
come
was
on
awesome.
now, when you step back and the last fight when they both had to take off their gis, Hawk needs to eat a sandwich, man. Come on, son.
Outstanding.
There are teenage girls in the world, and they need fan service. Okay. I'm not saying that was there for me because those are children, and that's not right. But well, those are like 22-year-olds or whatever. But there are kids watching this show who want to see that. And
Yeah,
you can't
that was
deny
absolutely
them.
there for the ladies, and I was all for it. Like, yeah, man, go
I'm
nuts.
uncomfortable.
You're uncomfortable. You didn't see the kid was skin and bones. It was with this giant tattoo of a hawk on his back. Oh, bad choice.
It's awesome.
So yeah, it's a great show. I mean, watch it, love it. People, what did Dan say? This is a weird world that we live in when this YouTube show has become so popular that I'm like, yes, I need the 5th season now. Like,
Yeah,
that's a weird world that we live in. Yes, it is.
it is indeed, and I'm glad it exists. But let's move on. We got plenty of other things to talk about, including the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So, how are you guys feeling about this so far?
Who wants to go first? Evan?
I'll go real quick. I like it. I feel it's oddly paced.
Yeah, it is.
But I am enjoying it. It's not the Mandalorian, and that's what I was expecting going into it. They try to make it have that same grittiness, but the pacing's I don't want to say that it's off. It's just the pacing's different. And once I get
I think the problem is that they're telling those two very distinct stories at the same time,
and they're interlacing them, which is weird. They keep going back and forth.
Especially in episode 1, they really interlace them, and in episode 2, they're just like, fuck it, just half of it's this one and half of it's the other one. Like, we're not even going to try to interlace them anymore. And I'm finding that to be somewhat problematic as far as like it being its own thing, because like I'm really invested in both of these stories, but not in any way that they connect to each other. Like,
Well,
I don't really care. Like, I already know because I watched Mandalorian that Boba gets his groove back. I'm totally fine with that.
Well,
so
you know that because you watched the first half of the first episode. He's grooving all over Jabba's palace kind of thing.
Well, yeah, but also because I watched The Mandalorian. I saw what happened before this show. So I like all the stuff that they're doing. Well, all right, I don't want to say all the stuff that they're doing with like Boba Fett and the Tusken Raiders and everything. Like, Karen and I were both saying at the end of the second episode, like, that could have ended a good 10 minutes earlier.
Yeah, like whoever made that was like, okay, we really need to like do a deep dive into the Tusken Raider culture, and I was like, do we though? Like, some of it was like, some amount of it was interesting, but that much of it was like,
It's a little overkill.
like, okay, I get the scene where they had to like wrap him in the linens and like, okay, that's fine. Just like pick it up. We understand what's going on here. You're taking too long with this.
Well, not only
They
did
could have
wrap him in
taken
the
every
linens,
single they could have taken a second or two from every one of those scenes, and it would have been fine, and it would have been over in like a minute and a half.
Well-
but in like second 50, like in minute 2 of them doing the dance at the end, I'm like, could you roll the credits, please? I got shit to do.
Wait a second. So you're glazing over too much, because not only was there the training how to fight with the stick scene, there was the wrapping with the linen scene, then there was the I went and found a stick
No,
scene.
there was- yeah,
Then
the-
there
I
was
went and
a I
found a
took the
stick, and then I
to a-
went and brought the stick to the lady, and then we carved the stick together.
Let's not forget the lizard up your nose.
That was
Right, the
uncomfortable.
lizard up your nose. And like,
Didn't see
that's
that coming.
I'm cool with all that weird shit, but like they could have done that exact same thing with so much less time, and because like I was already done by that point. That's the thing. Like, this stuff was kind of interesting, but they nailed the first chunk of that episode. Everything with the two huts, the hut twins in the beginning, and then with the whole train sequence, they nailed all that shit. It was a riveting episode, and then it just ground to a halt, and they were like, check this shit out.
Watch him
For a
dance.
while. This is what you're doing for the next 15 minutes.
Going to a Tusken
like-
Raider dance party.
What? You blew your load already. We're done. This
More
is
like
over.
Tusken Ravers.
There you go.
There it is.
Hold on. Right.
I don't know. But yeah, I totally agree. The pacing is kind of weird. But outside of that, I am very, very pleased. I am very much enjoying it. Fennec is a goddamn treasure. I'm very curious to see where all this stuff is going. And that's the part that's bothering me. Like, I want to know where both of these storylines are like how they're going to conclude, like what's going to happen next. I'm very invested in both of them, but I'm not invested in both of them together as like the same episode. Like, do one then the other. Is kind of how I feel about it. Like,
are you saying
I
do
don't
one
like
story,
that they're
like
splitting...
the first 4 episodes, one story, and the last 4, or like episode to episode? Like
yeah, either one. I would have been fine with either one. Like, just give me a solid arc of this thing as an episode, and then give me a solid arc of this thing as another episode. Give me these without trying to mix the two of them together, because they feel so divorced.
Sorry, they are two great tastes that do not taste great together.
Exactamundo. Now, of course, the evil black Wookiee dude, he's in the comics, and I know him. He is vicious as hell, and I'm very excited to see where they go with that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
I want a little more Fennec. I didn't get a lot of Fennec.
She's
in
my
episode 2.
favorite. Like,
yeah.
Like when she's just very blasé. Like, so should we kill him? Like, I love her.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
She's not much different than May. Like,
pretty much.
And I'm totally fine with that.
Yep,
exactly.
Here for it.
And I rather enjoy Boba Fett too. I think this new direction of him trying to rule with honor or whatever, or respect, not necessarily honor, because he's still like, he'll kill some dudes.
Yeah.
But I think the whole ruling with respect thing is pretty cool. I'm totally into this storyline. I just want to watch that storyline and then the other, not like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, this is the same problem I had with The Witcher, was the interlacing of stories. Like, it's harder to follow, and you can't be engaged in all of that story at the same time. It's tough. And the 2 is doable if they keep branching out, or if they don't end. Like, I don't know how much further they could take that Tusken story, because he's got his stick, he's got his clothes. We should be good now, right? Like,
yeah, because we already saw him get the armor back, so it's like
the only thing left to see is like what happened. Why did he leave?
That, and where did Fennec come from? That's what I'm waiting for. Like, that's what I was hoping for the entirety of this Tusken story, was how did he hook up with Fennec?
I'm into it.
Is anyone else bothered by the actor himself and feel like he might actually die on set?
Yeah, I think Tamora Morrison's. He's certainly selling it.
Okay. Don't get me wrong; he's a total badass.
I thought it was a little weird that the way they showed him getting out of the Sarlacc pit, he didn't look young.
Yes.
Like at all.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just kind of looked like.
They also did the burning. Like, he's covered in burn scars during the Tusken story, but not so much during the Jabba the Hutt era.
Yeah, because like the thing is like, dude's you never saw him without his helmet on in the movies prior, but in Return of the Jedi, he wasn't rocking the dad bod like he was in Mandalorian. Which don't get me wrong, I think that's fantastic, but he crawled out of that Sarlacc pit and he just looked exactly like he looks now, and I'm like, that's not what Boba Fett was shaped like at that point.
Yeah,
we don't really know how long he was in that Sarlacc pit, though, do we? Could have been 20 years. We don't know.
I suppose.
He really packed it on while he was being digested.
The Sarlacc nourished him. He lived off of Sarlacc in said pit.
His muscles are really just made of determination.
That's true.
No, I really, just watching Tamura, like, move on set, like, it's there are times when I watch him and I'm like, I am genuinely concerned. Like, I looked up the actor, because the dude's like 61 years old, and some of the stuff he's doing, I'm like, oh, your bones are brittle. Like, it makes me nervous. Like, there's the scene where he had to like jump on the train and they did a cut in the middle of the jump, and I was like, he probably couldn't make that jump. Like, his movements are stiff sometimes. When he runs, it's a little scary looking. Like, I have like genuinely real feelings and concerns when I'm watching him on screen. But if no one else feels that way, then I'm clearly overreacting.
I noticed his rigidity whilst he was training with the stick.
Yeah, he's not fluid in any of his fight scenes. But I thought that might just be the way that they're going with his character, because sometimes that's just part, like, people can have like a rough fight style that doesn't have fluidity, that can feel, I don't know. I feel like I'm watching the Tin Man.
He's not a ninja. He's a bulldozer. And
Yes.
that's the way I've always seen him. That's always the way I've seen him portrayed in comics too. Not that I'm like overly. I haven't read a ton of Boba Fett comic books, but all the Star Wars stuff. I've read all the Dark Horse and not all the Dark Horse ones. That went for a long time, but I read most of the Dark Horse run and all of the Marvel stuff so far, the main series. And I've seen plenty of Boba Fett in comics, and that's always been. He's a freaking bulldozer. He's not a ninja.
And that like lack of natural movement when he's training with the Tusken sticks may be explained by that. Like, that's not a style that he's used to.
Yeah,
and that's why it doesn't
he's used
look
to
right
having
on
his
him.
cool ass Mandalorian armor, and you know he shoots stuff.
I didn't know.
He's not a ninja.
I didn't know much about Boba Fett other than the few scenes I had seen in the movies of him, and even those I hardly remember because
there wasn't anything. There
was
nothing. It's Boba Fett. No disintegrations, as you wish. Like there's Boba Fett. That's it, and he stands around.
So like his dad, like when they had his dad stuff, like he wasn't a ninja either. Like the guy that they made the clones after.
Oh, Jango Fett?
Jango
No, I mean,
Fett?
He wasn't a ninja. He went, he
When I
kind of
say
went toe to
ninja, you know,
toe
I
with
don't mean an actual
Obi-Wan in
ninja.
episode 2, but like in a way that involved a lot of like flying around and keeping his distance and shooting, and like he was all power. He wasn't fast movements and stuff. That's
Okay. All right.
that was the way Jango rolled.
This is the way.
I was just gonna say that.
I stole it.
It's all right.
So
You earned
yeah,
it.
we're loving that.
Yeah,
too.
can't wait to see where it goes. And I don't know. Let's see. We're already running pretty long here, so let's bang out the rest of it. We've continued to watch Parks and Rec. I've been obsessing over Jeremy Parrish's Video Works series, and I'm on 1989 to 1991 now, where he's talking about Game Boy stuff, which is fun. And I think the other important thing was Karen and I started Wheel of Time.
Oh, okay.
And
We watched just the first one, right?
I think we watched 2.
that's not a good sign if you can't remember how many you've watched.
No, sometimes if you've watched them in a row or anything.
Yeah, I can't
Listen,
remember if I'm trying to remember like exactly.
Yeah, because like there was the first one, and then there was the one where the people, like the crazy troll people, attacked
Right, because
the
we were like,
village.
yeah, no, I want to see what happens next. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
no, it's good so far. I like it. I'm invested. It is one of those shows that has a lot of characters, and I'm not having a very good time keeping track of them. But it's
I think now that's going to shrink down now that it's like it's one of these 4 people.
yeah. I was cool. I liked that where they kind of put forth like, okay, so here's the core. This is the story now. Because was it the second episode where I was starting to feel like, all right, I think I might be tagging out of this show. This is really boring. And then these like, what the hell were those things? They were like giant minotaurs or something showed up, and they just fucked everything up. And I was like, oh
all right,
my.
I'm back in.
And then that whole thing just kept going, and then some really messed up shit happened, like with this one dude and his girl, and I was like, oh no, that's not gonna go well for him. And yeah, no, I'm in. I'm not like saying
cool.
it's the most amazing thing in the history of mankind. It's no sliced bread, but it's very good television.
Awesome.
Cool.
I like Rosamund Pike. I want to be her. Her magic, what I've seen of it so far, is like fucking cool as shit.
I don't know anything about this series. So
We'll have to just watch it 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it either.
A friend of mine was really excited for it to come out because she and her husband are really into the books.
Books and
so
series, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard some people have had complaints though. How's it translating for her?
I actually haven't talked to her that much about it. I just told her that I started it, and she was like, "Yay," and that was it. So, but I'll ask her and I'll report back.
Cool.
Yeah,
because we haven't seen that much of it either. So it's hard to talk to somebody about something when they know it really well, and you're like, "Oh, I don't know it at all," and I've only seen the beginning.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like we don't have any frame of reference, so like we're just watching the show. So if the show's good on its own, if we're entertained, then it doesn't matter that the book is better. It's if the show is good enough as it is. The show is the show, and the book is the book. And if the books are better, then that's awesome. But don't want that to. I don't want something else being better to dictate whether or not something else can be considered good.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it from a standpoint of like I'm not going to watch it. Like we know how I tend to feel about the books in relation to television shows, but I just was curious because like I haven't talked to anyone about that show other than seeing a few things on social media, and I was just like, I would love to know why someone would have an issue. Like what's not being translated well for them or whatever. Because
I'd be curious about that too.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it regardless. So
yeah, it's pretty neat.
Nice.
I only have 2 quick things because, as I said, kids were home and not much time to myself. But last night I did manage to finally find time for the Call the Midwife holiday special.
Nice.
Which is, they're really getting out of control. It's season 11 now. They're really getting out of control with this shit. So it was an hour and a half long. It was basically a movie, which is good because there's so many fucking characters on that show. And for some reason, in the Christmas special, everybody needs a plot line. Like, holy shit. So
That's
many
their
things
gift.
happen. Like, it's the 60s now. It's 1966. And so, like, there's one storyline where the doctor gets an emergency house call that he has to go to, and it turns out it's, like, a mobster who got stabbed.
Oh, Jesus.
Awesome.
But the doctor has brought his teenage son along because his son is, like, going to med school, and he's like, well, you should come on cases with me. Like, so now he's got this kid wrapped up in this, like, being a mob doctor thing. It just ended up being kind of funny. There were so many fucking things going on. Oh, and then there was one nurse who was like, oh, she's gonna get married to her husband at the end of the episode, and that's like that's the big celebratory holiday special thing. Mm-hmm. And then so the nurses live in a convent, but they're not nuns.
Right.
And then the nurse who's getting married, she's Jamaican. And so, like, she and her fiance belong to another church that's more like, islandy, whatever. I don't know church things.
Okay.
So the nuns and her church people meet to like discuss wedding details because I guess they're the ones throwing the wedding because the neither one of their families is like in England. So the church people are taking on like the throwing of the wedding and they're hashing out all the details, and it turns out like the Jamaican people really need to do the cake, and one of the nuns is like pissed because she already made a cake and she worked really hard on it. Like to see like Sister Hilda be pissed off. It's pretty funny. And then she's like, well, if they're gonna take over the cake, then I'm gonna throw the bachelorette party. The nun version of the bachelorette party.
Awesome.
Which is just like parlor games and like cocktails.
That sounds so great.
But she ends up like spiking the punch hard, and then the bride-to-be is stumbling up the stairs of the convent to go to bed, smacks her head, wakes up in the morning, and her eye is like, she has a black eye and it's swollen shut. Like it wasn't just a black eye, there's some like kind of injury in her skull and blood is like welled up behind her.
Oh my god.
And like it needs to be fixed with surgery, and it's going to take 10 days to recover, and like she's going to miss the wedding. But then the old nun sorry, this was really funny. The old nun is like, I'm so old that I remember, medical treatments that were before modern medicine. Let's use leeches.
Oh no.
Technically, if you want to remove blood.
I'm like, really? We're doing bloodletting now on Call the Midwife? Like, this is a thing? It was like, talk about a show does not exist on planet Earth. Like, okay. And then of course there were like 15 babies born on Christmas, and nuns running left and right delivering all these babies. There was just a lot going on. It was enjoyable as all hell. It's just like the show has gotten ridiculous.
Sounds like there is absolutely nothing wrong with this level of ridiculousness, though.
Sounds fun.
No, I mean, I enjoy, like, just really leeches. Oh my God. That's
Yes,
what the
Karen,
episode title should have been.
leeches.
Really leeches. Oh my God. The other thing that I have to mention, because I know Angie's going to freak out when she hears it, is that with the kids, we have started watching Avatar.
Right, yeah. We've
We've only
two
seen
episodes in. but
2
yeah.
episodes.
Okay.
And you know,
I'm
Chris is like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't know. It's only 2 episodes. And he keeps like apologizing for it. Like, I know it's really kiddie and it'll get better and whatever. I'm like, I've seen Korra. I understand like that, like the people who make these shows, like they're capable of making important episodes with like deep things happen. Like, I trust. You don't need to apologize for it. Like, I trust that it's going to be of the same quality. So
Yeah, trust the
I'm in
process.
so far. I'm in so far.
Good.
It's great. I like Sokka. He makes me laugh.
He is wonderful. Oh, good. That makes me so happy. Okay, well, keep me posted, but I will wait to. I am pushing down the excitement hard. So I'm very.
Yeah, the kids didn't choose it tonight, and so like we take turns picking who's going to do what. Like who gets to we take turns picking what the family's going to do for family time, and you know, she picked Avatar, and then I picked Avatar, and then you know, Ellie did not pick Avatar, and I'm pretty sure John's not going to either. But
Yeah, it's going to be slow going because, you know, it used to be that, like, we all just agreed on something and, like, everybody did it together, and then everybody stopped agreeing on it and was like, okay, well, now we need to give everybody a turn, and so, like, it's a shit show, and we have to remember whose turn it is all the time. And everything in this house is like that. Everything that we have to do together is, like, taking turns, and it's like, oh my God, I need, the 19 spreadsheets to keep track of it all.
I'm just gonna make you a board that says whose turn is it.
TV time.
so you know, good times. I'm stoked to be watching it again. I'm always happy to watch Avatar, and
Yeah.
I'm very curious what Karen's going to get out of it by the end, because you know, it's such a show.
Yes.
It is such a show.
Yeah. I mean, yes. It's a television
All right.
show.
Well, with that, I think
hold
it
on.
is
I have one quick thing to mention that I did not mention. Ghost Hunters season 14 is back.
Oh my God.
Jason Hawes is back on Ghost Hunters. He's no longer on Ghost Nation or whatever it is. Grant is out. Jason's back in, and it is now Discovery Plus, and it's the same fantastic ghost hunting shit. Just got to make sure that people know. That's
That was very important. Thank
it
you.
has to be known.
The message has been delivered. All right, with that, we are going to take ourselves a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to discuss Cowboy Bebop, the original animated series. I'm very curious to hear what everyone's going to have to say about this one. So, yeah, you're listening to this week's episode from Geekade.com. Stick around. And now, here's a quick look at some of the other original content available now from our partners and Geekade.com.
And first up, the Weekend Rental crew plays another rousing round of Buy, Rent, Burn, this time focusing on overall great Sega Genesis shmups. I don't know what that word means, but how do they feel about Musha? Will Forgotten Worlds be discussed? Does Space Harrier 2 count? Also, they share their thoughts on the latest from Spider-Man and weigh in on the top 100 games in Japan. Make sure you check out Weekend Rental episode 116, The Gamers Play with Lightning.
Shmup
Good
stands
job,
for
good job.
shoot 'em ups, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Ah!
Yep, you nailed it. You got it.
Yay! I knew it.
See? Okay, well, I was going to say they should listen to the podcast if they want to learn, but apparently I'm the only shmup that doesn't know.
Heyo! Next, Greg and Joe look back at the games that they covered in 2021 and a couple from late 2020 that were not in the 2020 special. Which ones stood out and why? There's only one way to find out. Find Greg's home address and start an aggressive letter writing campaign to convince him to tell you what you want to know. Or, if you're not into the whole crossing the personal boundaries thing, you could always just listen to the SNES podcast episode 179, 2021 year-end special. Dan was absolutely right. There are a lot of numbers in that one.
You're welcome.
Finally, Paul, Sean, and Kris made an effort to see Spider-Man No Way Home as soon as it hit theaters, and they convened to have an impromptu bonus episode discussing all things Spider-Man movies, MCU, other superhero flicks, and more. Is Batman and Robin the most important superhero movie of all time? Find out in A Theater Near You, Episode 10, Spider-Man No Way Home.
For all this and more from us and our partners, be sure to keep your eyes on geekade.com. Okay, we are back, and I have once again chosen episodes of Cowboy Bebop for this show to watch that aren't necessarily the ones I was going for, except this one, at least I recognized why I chose them to a different degree. We're talking about Cowboy Bebop, Season 1, Episodes 12 and 13, Jupiter Jazz Parts 1 and 2, originally aired in October of 2001. These two episodes are the ones that I generally consider to be my least favorite of the original series. They're there. I'm very curious to hear what you guys' thoughts are on them. The reason I chose them in particular was because of the Gren character. Gren was pretty different in the live-action show, and I kind of wanted to refresh myself on this one. I'm not here on my Cowboy Bebop rewatch yet. I've kind of slowed down on it because of all the other life that's been happening. I was 2 episodes away from actually getting to this point. So, but I knew that I remembered Gren being, having a very different story and being a very different kind of character. And I also wanted a direct comparison of this is what Vicious is. This is the villain, the background villain character for the show, and he's a big fat nothing burger. He's just... That's Vicious. That's his character. His entire everything is... and that's way more interesting than with that. That big fat nothing burger is so much more interesting than the whiny child that they put in the live action show. But anyway, I'm more interested in hearing what you guys have to say than anything. So who wants to talk to me about Jupiter Jazz?
All right.
You started. Go.
Yeah. I enjoyed this episode, or these episodes. I was kind of they are... I mean, I don't remember them being bad. Maybe it's just out of context.
I think I have to do a qualifier here. They're the worst episodes of this series, in my opinion, which is to say that they're not bad. I don't think they hit anywhere near the level of the rest of the series. I don't want to come off I hate watching these episodes, because I don't. I think they're great, but the rest of the show is way up there, and these are well, okay. That's where I'm at. I didn't want you to think that I hate these episodes, just okay, by comparison.
I got you. All right, because a lot of the story it's standard Cowboy Bebop fare. There's the thing to do, whatever their mission is for this episode, and one of the most interesting turns was when I'm trying to get back to the cast names, when that character Julius, not Julius,
Gren, the one who turned out to be in the shower, and
yes, is that
that's Gren?
Okay,
Gren, yes, Gren. Who was? Did you watch any of the live action show?
No. After the conversation that we've had, and we said that I'd be a guinea pig. I'm not sure if I'm a guinea pig or a sacrificial lamb at that point. And so I've kind of been stalling on it, but I was going to wait, but I will say these 2 episodes made me that much more committed to wanting to play, or to I don't want to say play the game, but to watch this, because to me it feels like a game of okay, can I do these? I was thinking I would do live action and then watch a little bit of the animated, or just watch all the live action and then go through the animated. It's a hell of a commitment for me on time, but these 2 episodes made me that much more curious about the show, because I remember the way that they presented Vicious in the show, and I was like, this is stupid, and it was ridiculous. And then in the anime, I'm like, oh, Yeah, no, that makes sense. He's an anime villain. Like, yeah, okay.
He's everything he needs to be.
Yeah.
He was a proper anime
worked.
villain. Like,
The
right.
flashbacks with Julia, the way that he responds, just everything. I don't know.
He's got that fucking bird. Like,
yeah.
he's a goddamn cartoon villain, and it's everything he needs to be. He didn't need to be more than that.
Yes. Agreed.
And he didn't need to be as big a part of the plot in the live action show as he was.
Exactly.
Like, holy crap, at least half the show was about him and his, like, BS.
And in the anime, he's in, like, these two, one or two others in the beginning, and then, like, the finale. Like, he's a background villain. There is no overarching, this is the villain, this is the bad guys in the show. It's like, this is what's going on in the background, and every now and then we're going to touch on it, but then we're going to go back to, Monster of the Week kind of stuff.
That's what the great part about this show, the animated show, is that it was a Monster of the Week kind of thing, but there was a little through line, and it wasn't overbearing or whatnot, but getting to be introduced to all of the new characters as they came up, like, because I didn't realize, like, when you were talking about Gren, like, you're saying that the live action, he was, I'm like, I have to find out. I'm getting names mixed up because that's not what Gren was in the animated one at all. That character
Gren was the
leaps
saxophone player, and in the live action show, Gren was like just a legit trans character. Was the way that they presented Gren, not like the result of experiments, like effectively. For lack of a better term, it was a guy in drag, more or less, that was very fabulous and worked at the bar, and
so they
just completely redid the character. Like,
but everything that made that character impactful was the fact that it was so understated. Mm-hmm. Like, that's ruining the character. Now I'm just mad.
Right?
And the fact that, like, the nature of their gender was forced on them, like, wasn't something they adopted by
like
choice.
in the anime, like that was almost the quote was that he he referred to himself as a he, but I think they is a little bit more appropriate in this situation. But like the quote when what the fuck is her name, the purple haired chick, Faye. Yeah, when Faye sees him and she's like, what are you? And he's like, I'm both at once and neither one. And like, holy shit,
that's a big deal to, like,
when did this come out? And they're fucking
2001.
Well, it says it aired in 2001, I think, in America, but I think it was 98 in Japan.
98 in Japan.
And I know Japan, like, arts and culture, there are definitely always people who are, at the frontier of social change and expressing concepts that are obviously not socially acceptable in like a public situation or within the normal everyday culture. But like, I was flabbergasted when I saw this. Like, I had no expectation of this at all whatsoever. And I had already been enjoying Gren's character, and then I just liked Gren even more because it just felt like this character had so much depth. And I mean, it was like a 5-minute turnaround. Yeah,
we were genuinely surprised when the reveal of that character happened, and not in a bad way. In a wow, they built this slow burn for this character. And it's upsetting to hear that they didn't give the character that much justice in the live action.
What makes me even sadder is that I think they did.
Oh. No, honey.
That's the impression that I get off of it. Be like, well, we have this character that is this way, but let's just make this character trans. And
that's not the same. That's not the same thing as what this
turn it
into
a drag queen barmaid, basically, and they were a funnish character to watch, but like they were again a character that was kind of forced into more of a role throughout the course of the series, and like it didn't work. Whereas in this one, like, Gren's story is in these 2 episodes, and then they die, and that's the end of that. And I love the whole. I don't even think an ambulance is going to make it out here. You're going to die. And he's just like, just get me my ship. At least if I'm not going to make it there, I'll die on my way there. It's like
tempting to,
It's a hell of a sentiment. The reason that I say that these are the worst 2 episodes in the series are not because of the themes, but necessarily the way that they're presented. A lot of the dialogue is very, very melodramatic, and even more so than a lot of the other stuff. It's a lot more anime melodrama than the degree of melodrama that the rest of the show handles, I think, a lot better.
Okay.
So it made a lot of watching, having just, been watching the rest of the series and then remembering like, oh man, I remember getting to this point and being like, these two are, it just kind of, it takes this weird dip in quality as far as the actual writing and delivery goes. Like there's so much like wistful, lines that you would see scrolled across like a white woman's Instagram or something. Like there were so many of those one-liners throughout the course of this episode. It's like, come on, show, you're better than this. And like I get there every now and then they do these kinds of things. They're all themed after different kinds of things, but that's the reason I wanted to do this episode. It's like, 1, this is how Vicious is. This is as deep as his character gets, and 2, what the hell were they doing with Gren? Like,
it's weird because we did not watch any of the animated series between maybe watched the first 1-2 episodes, and then stopped because then we started watching the live action. Then we stopped that because time. But the first 2 episodes of Cowboy Bebop are kind of melodramatic. Like they're like telenovelas kind of shit going on in the first couple of episodes, and then it levels off. So to go from that to this, there's no quality difference. Like it still feels borderline the same, and it's not bad in any stretch of the imagination.
But I can tell you, as the one person here who's not really familiar with all of this, it definitely, I absolutely hear what you're saying, and I did feel that, and I'm not like, I don't want to say I disliked this. I did not actively dislike this, but it did not excite me in the way that I expected this show would. Because of the way that so many people love it and talk about it. And I think right now it's just because I did, I started at the very beginning and then I jumped to the next melodramatic thing, like Evan is saying. So I'm not.
It was so melodramatic they had to sideline Ed and Ein for almost the entire episodes.
and so because of that, like, I'm not judging the show on this because I know that the show is so much more than this. But like, if someone were to tell me that the show tends to stay in line with this sense of writing that I've experienced in like these 2 episodes specifically, I would never watch the show again.
Yeah, it is. These are definitely exceptions to the way the rest of. I mean, the episode before Jupiter Jazz is like, if I was going for not making the point of like, this is where they did with Gran and this is what Vicious is supposed to be like, was definitely, that would be the episode I'd choose because it's Toys in the Attic, which I know, Evan, you've seen the whole anime series before, right?
Yes.
It's the one with the fridge.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is absolutely genius. It's this wonderful, like, horror themed one.
Nice.
Where and I don't want to. I just don't want to spoil the ending because the ending is fucking gorgeous. But this show has so much more to offer than this. Think about the stuff that really did work, like Spike. Standing there in that pink jacket. Do I look like I have money?
Yes.
And just did that. And again, the fighting. I think Angie, you were talking about the way Spike fights in the first episode that you had watched, and like comparing that to the way he fights in the live action show is just a totally different thing. And like watching this one now after having seen the live action one, like, could you imagine them even attempting that fight scene where he goes, "You don't know what Vicious is," and then he just tears through that entire gang?
Yeah.
Could you imagine John Cho trying to do that? It wouldn't work.
No.
It just wouldn't work. And I love me some John Cho. Wonderful guy. But I just don't think it's a totally different thing. It's a completely different animal.
Yeah.
And they really did miss a lot of the point.
Yeah,
So,
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that you did a good job of choosing this episode to drive home those points, because from a standpoint of comparison alone between the live action and this, I definitely got that feeling. And to
say that these are the low points. So
Yeah.
pretty much everything else you watch in the series, I personally think is better than this.
Yeah, but I find that absolutely believable, and more so, I don't want to poo-poo the live action, but I just am even less sold on its ability to do what they set out to do. And it sucks to say that, because it's not something where I'm like, they didn't have respect for the content. They clearly did, but like, they just didn't do it right. I don't know that it could be done right, and I appreciate the fact that they tried.
It's almost like book to movie kind of thing. Like, the original anime would be the novel of Cowboy Bebop, and then the live action was, all right, this is someone who read it and tried to visualize it but didn't watch the actual show.
But it was more like someone who tried to put it into a different shaped muffin tin. They were like, all right, so this is awesome, this is what the show is, but what it needs is a constant villain. It needs a real villain, and it needs XYZ. And it's like, no, it doesn't need anything. It's fine the way it is. You want to do this in live action? Do this in live action. You don't have to change all this other stuff. But like, they went a little bit too far with the like, all right, well, let's try and change this up. Let's try and make Vicious more interesting. Let's give him a backstory, make him the real villain. Let's try to connect all the episodes together with this overarching syndicate plot. Yeah, let's try to connect all this tissue. And like, that doesn't exist in the anime. It's like, well, they're bounty hunters. Who are they hunting this week? They don't connect because they don't have to. They're intergalactic bounty hunters. It's freaking outer space. Not everyone knows everyone. It's fine.
Yeah, and you see there's a whole letter writing campaign going on now, and petitions being signed for the live action to come back somewhere.
Wait, what?
That's not going to go anywhere.
I think that happens with pretty much every show now.
Yeah.
That's not going to go anywhere.
Has over 100,000 signatures on it, the petition to bring back Cowboy Bebop.
100,000? I'm sure
That's not a
Netflix
lot.
cares deeply about that. Karen, you've been somewhat quiet. What were your overall thoughts on this?
I mean, a lot of what they said, like, I see where you were going with the comparison on this one. Like, Vicious is just completely different in this than in the live action. I guess that's my kind of unique position to be able to agree with you, since like we both watched the live action all the way through. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that really struck me. It did feel like kind of slow. I appreciated the way that they showed the relationship between Spike, Faye, and Jet. And that, like, in the beginning, when as soon as like Spike found out there was a possibility of finding out anything about Julia, he was just like, I'm out the fucking door and I don't care about the consequences. And Jet laid down some serious consequences, and then by the end of it, it was like, you could tell like this has happened 100 times before. Like,
Yeah.
Spike goes off and does whatever the fuck he wants. Jet makes empty threats, and then like they all care about each other too much to like really split up, so they all come back together. And I feel like that was something that was much better. That relationship was captured much better in the live action than some of the other things didn't translate as well to live action.
Yeah, the Spike and Jet relationship in live action was great. Jet in particular was so good in live action. But again, they did the whole thing with his like family and kid to get back to, and like that wasn't necessarily bad, but it also wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
I didn't catch the, like, you were saying the voice of the actor who played him in live action and the voice actor were so similar. I didn't really catch it. Like, they sounded similar to me, but it was more like that the live action actor was trying to do that character rather than like, oh my god, their exact voice sound-alikes. But
yeah, I think that's kind of what I was more trying to say. Like, that guy clearly was aiming.
like he nailed that
performance of Jet, which I thought was really impressive.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it did. didn't really, like you were saying, that this was the like low point of the series in terms of quality. I felt that. I was like, really, this is like what you picked? And now I understand why you picked what you picked, but I was like, all right, I guess we're watching this.
And it's again, I just have to drive home the point, the testament of how out of character this was for this show at this point in the series, that they had to sideline 2 entire characters just to make it work. Like, there's always that sort of kind of point of levity with Ed in the background, or as just a regular character in the show at this point. Same with Ein. I mean, Ein's not like a main character. Ein's a dog, so Ein's doing stuff in the background all the time, but there's usually some more of that kind of relationship, especially between Ed and Ein. And Ed was like basically nowhere to be found through these 2 episodes
search,
because
right?
was that?
Did a Google search pretty much, and that was then.
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Although I will say I love the part where after Ed realizes that she's done, like, just collapsing back on Ein, and like that little animation with the squish.
I loved that. It was so sad. It's like, oh, poor Ein.
But at the same time, that is exactly how children treat animals.
Yeah.
Yes.
At least animals that they're comfortable with.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that. Like, again, it's little things like that where I was like, that little touch, like, especially because they had to take the time to animate that. The fact that they would put that in there, I don't know, I just, that one got me a little. Because I was like that with my dog.
That's more emblematic of what makes this show so endearing, is there's so much more of that stuff. And, well, you've seen the worst, now watch the rest.
Yeah.
I went back and I watched half of probably the next most melodramatic one outside of the finale, but the finale pulls it off incredibly well, which was Ganymede Elegy, which is the one where they kind of go into Jet's backstory a bit.
Ooh.
And it's there's a bit in the beginning of this that the Jupiter Jazz that feels kind of out of context watching it outside of the order, because it's about Jet goes on this kind of like bounty mission to go see his ex, basically.
Right.
So when Spike is up and leaving, like going on his own thing, saying, I'm going after my girl, that was a direct response to just like a week ago, Jet put a whole bunch of stuff on hold to go after his girl. So that line feels super out of place without the context of like, oh wait, that just happened in the other direction a few weeks ago, except a little bit less dangerous because Jet thinks things through way more than Spike does.
Nobody's surprised by that.
But what I loved about that, and there was an episode that they tackled in the live action show, was the whole Jet backstory thing. And one of the things that I loved about that was like they made that the reason that Jet's, I think it was wife, left him, was that he always took care of everything for her and never let her make mistakes. Like that was, because his personality is that like father type figure that's always, got stuff figured out and wants to make sure that the people around him that he cares about aren't getting hurt, but he does it too much, and that drove her away from him. And I thought that was a really cool character moment. I just love that show. It's so well thought out, and
It is.
Yeah.
I do like that a lot. I didn't know that was a thing. That's cool.
Yay! All right. Well, I'm all done. I'm tired.
Yeah, I have to say thank you for that pick though, because like I said, it's nice to get like the worst out of the way, so now I can just enjoy the rest.
Yeah, it's also, you know what? Yeah, no, never mind. I've lost my train of thought. It's fine. Train's left the station. It's off.
Kris is tired.
Kris is toast. Kris didn't get much sleep last night. Kris has a lot of work to do. All right. Any final thoughts before I close this thing out?
Hashtag dad life. Nope.
Hashtag dad
That's it.
life. All right. Well, then that is it for us. That's our show. This week's episode is not filmed before a live studio audience, but it is fueled by feedback from listeners like you. And you can get in touch with us in a multitude of ways. We have an official Geekade Discord where there's an entire This Week's Episode channel dedicated to all things TV talk. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through the official... Whoa, my screensaver just turned on. Official Geekade channels for the more specific Twepcast accounts. And of course, the four of us can be found in various ways. I'm on Twitter at Geekade Kris. That's Geekade Kris. And you can read my work at StoneAgeGamer.com and in the pages of Nintendo Force magazine. Karen, where can people find you?
For all your fun feminist fandom fiber art needs, look for STM Stitches on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Etsy.
Angie, where can people find you?
I have returned to the Twitterverse. I am at A4Not. That's AFERNOT. So come say hi to me on Twitter and tell me why I should stay.
I don't think I can say hi, but I don't know that I can tell you why you should stay.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter is basically a cesspool with occasional bright spots.
Damn it, don't discourage me. I will leave again.
It's a highly
better than
addictive
Facebook.
cesspool.
That's true.
I mean, seriously, you if you can, what's the word, curate it well enough, like, I very much enjoy my Twitter because I very rarely see anything that isn't directly related to video games. So, works out
Fair.
for me.
Nice.
Anyway, Evan, where can people find you?
Geekade_Evan.
Just type that into the
Just
internet.
go.
See what-
Just go. Just look it up.
shout it into the darkness.
See where it takes you.
You'll get the same reaction out of me.
If you need to know more about any of the shows we discussed tonight or we'll be watching in the future, have a look at our show notes. And if you have any questions at all, we can always be reached at mail@geekade.com. Just include the words "this week's episode" in the subject line so we know who you're trying to reach. This show is available anywhere fine podcasts are sold, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. And wherever you decide to listen, please comment, like, subscribe, and leave reviews because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. Again, as always, keep your eyes on Geekade for more fresh, original content. Whose turn's next?
It's mine.
Yeah, I was going to say.
My turn.
Evan, it's your turn.
All right.
Live-action Cowboy Bebop.
No,
Son of a
it
bitch.
is not.
Hard pass.
What we are going to be watching is it's something new that I came across. I watched the first episode. I'm very happy with it. We are going to watch Around the World in 80 Days.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Episode 1. It's just called Episode 1. This is, I don't know who does it.
I know who's in it.
Federation.
Federation Entertainment. I'm trying to think, like, a Sling. I don't know how I came across it, but it stars, the one and only David Tennant. So there's your homework.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Well,
Huzzah.
I didn't know it existed,
Now you do.
so now I do. I'm looking forward to it.
That means you
And
have
you're
not
welcome in
curated
advance.
your feeds to include as much David Tennant news as I have.
That is true.
And now
Not for
Twitter's
lack
worth
of
it.
trying. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap it up for us. Are you all ready?
I don't know. Are we ready? Yes.
Oh, no. Crap. Karen, you go first. That's how we're doing
Yes.
this.
Yes.
All right, that's it for us. I'm Kris.
I'm Karen.
I'm Angie.
Ein.
Good night.
And this concludes our broadcast day.